This is Faith Family Cars Podcast. I'm Jerry.
I'm Zach.
Hit the key.
Therefore take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. That was Ephesians 6:13.
Welcome back to Faith Family Cars Podcast. We're glad you guys have tuned back in, and we are just really thankful now.
The first week of the podcast, the release, it was honestly way bigger than I would have thought. I really thought we were going to have maybe 6 or 7 views of video just because of...
Just family members.
Yeah, just family members. I mean, nobody really knows who we are. I didn't really think anything was going to happen, but collectively across all platforms, we have had over 200 views, and that's just
awesome.
That's
praise God.
Crazy. I never thought we would be anything like that, especially for the first couple episodes. I mean, I was hoping and praying that something would happen. Maybe more people could hear about us later on, but right now it's just kind of, I didn't expect that many people to be listening.
No, it's been awesome. And when he says across all platforms, that is YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, podcast, Amazon, and iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
And
YouTube's our biggest right now, though. I mean, we've got probably, I would say, close to 150 or 170 views on YouTube alone amongst the 3 videos.
Well, no, that amongst the 3 videos, it is now, we are a week and a half out when this recording's being done, and we are at 200 views. So for the first week, we were at around 175. We're at 200 views just on YouTube. Yeah. So
that's mind-boggling to me. I really didn't expect anybody to watch us.
It is, and we really appreciate it, guys, for you guys supporting us. And I'm going to tell you that even since the release of the podcast, we have now went to LS Fest.
Sadly, for some reason, I don't know why we were there, but I know why we were there, but
So we went to LS Fest, and you guys know we're Ford guys, and it's kind of crazy because we live so close to Bowling Green, and we've never went to LS
Never
Fest.
been there. I see pictures, videos, and everything every year. I like pictures and videos on Instagram. Yeah. I see a lot of cool stuff on Instagram, but never once have I thought, man, let me go to LS Fest because I really care about that.
and we might talk about some of the reasons why, because actually after being there, I think we both realized what we like and what we dislike about LS Fest.
Well, I think we can talk a little bit about that after the interview.
Yeah, so right now, though, I wanted to bring up something that we're excited about. And, we've got content coming out almost every day. And it's getting ready to expand a little bit more because we are going to be on Saturdays featuring our listener rides. So if you have got a cool hot ride, a car, a truck,
bike, honestly, 4-wheeler. If you want to send us your kitted out 4-wheeler, that'd be awesome too.
Chromed out semi. Yeah. You got something cool.
Something that you enjoy, and it has wheels and a motor.
Yes.
I guess if it has an electric engine too, if that's what you think's cool.
No, we'll pass on that. We won't go that far, buddy. No Tesla Cybertrucks, guys. Please.
Yeah, please no.
Surely you got something in the garage with a gasoline motor.
Your lawnmower, we'll take the push mower over the
Cybertruck. Anyway, whatever you got and you're a listener, send us your ride because we want to post them up on Saturdays. You can send it to us through a DM on Instagram and add a little description, about what it is. And
we also accept them through email as well.
Yes, we're also going to take it through email. If you go to our profile, you'll find our email address, but it is at jp5garage@gmail.com. I said at JP5. It is jp5garage@gmail.com. I'm telling you our Instagram, or my Instagram. But send it to that email and with a brief description. If you send it by email, also send us your Instagram handle so I can, we can add you in there and tag you on it. And we're going to post up those rides. I think it'll be cool. I'm excited about it because you don't always see what everybody's got.
A lot of times people don't even post on social media kind of what they're building. A lot of times, I follow some guys that maybe once every couple months they'll post up something that they're building, and it's like, you barely get any updates on it, but it's chugging along behind the scenes. So.
Yeah, and I like to see your all's projects, not just your rides that you take out to cruise-ins or you go Power Tour or whatever on, but post up your projects because a lot of you guys have a car that that's done, but you got a project behind the scenes. just give us a sneak peek of that maybe, and we'll throw those up too.
And if when you send us your car for us to post, if you happen to want a sticker, just send your address too. We'll send you a sticker. It looks just like our logo behind us. It's just a circle sticker, but yeah, we'll send you one of those if you want one.
And that's our thank you for posting up your ride.
Yep.
And we appreciate you guys and everything, all the support you guys have given us. And at LS Fest, I could not believe the amount of support we have gotten from LS Fest. And it's amazing to me to see how God works and to see Him use some of the new people we met. And, just the days after LS Fest, we had so many new followers on Instagram. And I just thank God for that. It is God that is working, and He's using His word and this podcast, and I believe He's using it to build His kingdom. And these guys, we got so many people that just said, "Man, this is awesome. This is something we need in the car community." And we're thankful to hear those kind of good words.
Well, even outside of LS Fest, I've had some buddies message me that I don't really talk to very often, and they'll message me just saying, "Hey man, I'm watching. Y'all are doing something awesome, and just to keep it up." And that just means a lot because, like I said, I don't really talk to these guys very much. So receiving a message from them just to tell me that they enjoy what we're doing and they're watching, that's awesome. It's obviously speaking to them if that's the case.
Yes, and I praise God for that.
Oh, yeah.
So LS Fest, we interviewed some really good dudes, and one of them I have seen around so often, and at Power Tour the past 2 years, tried to talk to him, never got the opportunity to really meet up, and we might throw a hand up to each other and wave and passing by, but we never got to sit and talk. And we finally got what most of you guys know, as the Burnout King, C10 Burnout King.
He's been on Hoonigan. He's been all over the internet.
All over the internet.
During quarantine, it was all he was everywhere. Like it was huge.
So he is the Burnout King who does burnouts pulling a camper.
Yeah.
If you don't know who I'm talking about, you need to get on Instagram a little more often.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about Trevor Evans.
I thought you were going to say Evan Travers.
I know you thought I was going to say Evan Travers.
You're the worst with names.
I am the worst with names, and his Instagram is at Evan Travers, which is his name backwards.
Yeah.
But
so I get it mixed up too. Honestly.
Yes. So most of the time I just refer to him as the Burnout King.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we finally got with Trevor. Awesome interview.
We honestly
on this
talked
episode.
to him probably for about an hour before we even pressed the record button on the camera.
Yes, exactly. Talking about so much.
Yeah.
And, he also talks about FC Car Enthusiasts, which is Fellowship of Christian Car Enthusiasts. And he posts up all, anybody who's a Christian and it's into the car world, you send him your vehicle and your favorite verse or your favorite song, Christian song, and he posts them up on that site. It's like a online car club.
Well, one thing that he said, I can't remember if it was during the interview we had with him or outside when we were talking to him, but he mentioned, he said that it doesn't matter what it is because somebody is going to find something that you find cool. Someone else is going to find that cool too. Yes. So he's like anything and everything. And so I thought that was pretty neat as well.
He's been doing this for several years. I've been following him for quite a while on that site. And it's just pretty awesome to see everybody's rides. I like to see stuff because a lot of guys, like Zach said, don't post a lot. Mm-hmm. And so you might not catch it, but then you see it on his, on FC Car Enthusiast, So that's pretty cool. Then, secondly, we
talked to a guy with a old 90s stock car.
Yeah, Ford Taurus stock car.
Yeah, and it's very, very confusing when we walked up to it. It was at LS Fest, but it did not look like an LS was in it.
Yeah.
So
you'll know what he's talking about when you see the video.
Yes,
on
if
YouTube.
you watch it on YouTube, I would recommend watching this interview on YouTube because of I show the car a little bit. I'm the cameraman with all the interviews for this episode, but I'll show the car a little bit, and you can kind of see why we were so confused when we walked up to it. But the deeper you look, you kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah. So that's a really cool interview. He tells a lot of history about this car in particular. That
It's
you'll
really
want to hear.
awesome. He tracked down so much about this car. It's crazy.
Yeah, any of you guys who are like me, who watched NASCAR in the 80s and 90s and maybe not so much now, when you hear him start telling the history of this car, you're going to be like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. So, and then lastly, we had Mark Frisbie of Built Shoulda Bought Garage and his daughter, Jamie, and they had 2 of their trucks out there, and that's a really good interview. First time I got to meet Mark, and
he's a very, very awesome guy, very down to earth, easy to talk to.
Yes, and it's a really good interview. He tells just a little of the history of his truck, and that I think you'll find interesting. And just a really good interview, and I'm really excited that we got to meet him. I've heard a lot about him, and we were able to work with Tim Davis, Sally's Garage. If y'all know who that is, they're friends, and he hooked us up and helped us get the interview with them.
I'd really like to get a full podcast with him at some point. Maybe we can work something out at some time.
We're working on that.
We're working on
that. So,
well, he's got a lot to say, and I'd love to hear more.
Yes, he does. Good testimony, guys. So we got this content with LS Fest, and we're getting ready to jump into the videos now. But one thing I got to say, we are Ford guys, okay? And we went to LS Fest, and these dudes had no problem calling us out.
Oh, yeah.
Watch and see.
Ridiculous.
You'll see what I'm talking about. So let's get into it.
All right, guys, we are out here at LS Fest, and we are with Trevor Evans, or better known as Evan Travers on Instagram, which confuses me all the time. And we're here with his C10. And before we get into this, though, you are in the Snake Eaters Performance booth.
Yes, sir.
At LS Fest. And I got a little beef with that because I got a Cobra.
Oh.
But I will say, your C10 will blow the doors off my Cobra.
I don't know. It's just an old pickup.
No, the Cobra's just a stock Cobra. So, yeah, it sounds a little mean, but believe me, it's a dog.
I understand.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your truck?
All right, so this is my 1985 Chevrolet C10. I bought it about 13 years ago, going on 14, from a lady that's local. I bought it with a 305 700 R4. She priced it to me for $1,200. I gave her the money, was pulling out of her driveway. She met me halfway, gave me $400 back. She said, take care of it for me, and that's where we are.
Dang.
So I drove it home from that day. I ended up putting a little 383 stroker motor in it. I sold that at the Moonshine Festival. It's a local kind of kids. They raise money for the local kids, stuff like that. And I sold it at that event, and that's where the LS platform came from.
Okay. So now we want to know about your LS. I know it's twin turbo, right?
Single turbo.
Single turbo.
Yep,
Okay.
Single turbo. So it's a stock bottom N60. It's got a Holley High Rise, Holley Terminator X Max, BS Racing S480 turbo. Then it's got the Circle D Specialties. It's got their 3600 triple disc billet converter. It's got the Snake Eater 1500cc injectors. My buddy Lance Disroom, Mill Creek Calibrations, he's got it dialed in for me. Dyno tune, street tune, we've kind of done it all. Over the last couple of years, we've really got it dialed in pretty well. Drove it on the power tour this year, driving, and this was our first stop here in Bowling Green. Street tune, drove it here, swapped tires, and went a 1048 right out of the box.
Yeah, I saw you run.
Yeah, so it was, I can't be any more proud of it. I built it to just kind of have fun with, to do burnouts, and here we are.
You have definitely had fun with it.
Yes,
so
sir.
Anybody that knows you and follows you on Instagram knows that you became famous for pulling the camper, laying down the burnouts, smoke show. I mean, that blew up huge, and that's where I first saw you. When I saw that, I'm like, man, this is insane.
Yes, sir.
So I started following you off of that video, like probably a lot of people did. So we know it can lay down massive burnouts, and when I'm talking about you, like to the family or everybody, I refer to you as the Burnout King. So that's what they know you as.
Yes,
so they
sir.
know who I'm talking about when I say the Burnout King. But yeah, so you talked about the motor. What do you got going on with the suspension?
It's actually just factory 1985 suspension. I've got a 5.7 drop kit on it. I had to customize the springs. The springs that was sent with it, I say it's a 5.7 kit. I kind of built it individually. I was like 21 years old in college, and I was like, I gotta lower this truck.
Yeah.
And so, individually, I bought the springs, I brought the drop spindles, the flip kit, the drop shackle. So overall, it's a 5.7. I had to cut the factory springs to get it where it was. It's got a sway bar in the front. The truck didn't come with one. It's just a custom deluxe. So it was bottom of the totem pole. The only thing other than that is really the cow tracks, and that's kind of my secret to not only spinning straight, but it's kind of my secret to being able to hook up at the track too.
Okay, so you use cow tracks. That's good to know. Yeah, I need something to keep my truck from wheel hopping.
It's night and day.
Yeah, okay. I'll be looking at those. Thanks for the tip.
It's a hefty investment, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good stuff. It works really well.
I've heard other people talk about it, but I've never seen anybody really tell me how well it works.
It's night and day difference.
Okay.
You won't regret it.
All right, we'll be looking into that. So you've got another Instagram, okay? FC Car Enthusiast, correct?
Yes, sir.
And which stands for?
It's Fellowship of Christian Car Enthusiasts.
Okay.
It's something that I'd had this strong feeling inside. The Lord was talking to me. I didn't know what direction to go, didn't know what I needed to do. I just, one day I decided, I was like, Lord, if this is what you want, tell me what I need to do. And that night I woke up in the middle of the night, and that's where the name came from.
Okay,
Don't know why, don't know how, but it was just the Lord talking to me, and that's what it needed to be. Thankfully, the initials worked out to where that, I could put it on my hat, stuff like that.
Yep.
I've got it on my tent. I had some buddies draw up a logo for me. When I thought of the name, I produced the page. It was
okay, just like that.
It was the next day it hit Facebook, and that's where I really started on Facebook. And from there, it hit Instagram. And there, on my Facebook page, I let everybody else share their cars, their favorite Bible verses, stuff like that. When the Instagram got started, and I still do my best to take care of that. It was a every single day, Monday through Friday. I would post a different vehicle, and I would ask the persons whose vehicle it was, their favorite Bible verse, their favorite, song that they love, their song that, just represents, how they feel at the time, faith songs, stuff like that. And it has touched my heart in more ways than I ever could have imagined, and it's really introduced me to a totally different side of the car community that I knew was there, but I didn't know how deep.
Yes.
So it's been a learning curve, and we'll get into my testimony one day. And I used to not be humble. I used to not put God first. Just we're human. It happens.
Yep.
And
that's exactly right.
When I put God first in my life, I hear a lot of people say it this way. When I rededicated myself to God, to representing my faith, my life has made a completely 180.
That is awesome.
I'm married.
Yep.
I've got beautiful children. I've got a beautiful stepdaughter.
Yep.
I've got the house that we've always needed. A wonderful job, and this car stuff. It just
you get to do cool stuff like this.
You're right, and it's just I was, lack of better terms, I was nobody. I was a nobody before I put God first, and that's when I started noticing, like, wow, look what God's doing.
Yeah.
It's not look what Trevor's doing. It's look what God's doing.
Yes.
And I could never imagine myself going back to how that I used to feel, because I've been humbled in so many ways.
Yeah.
That
He has a way of doing that, doesn't he?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, boy. I got chills now thinking about it. It's just one of those things. So
yeah. So if anybody's interested in FCCE, you can go on Instagram. You can find his Instagram page, and he has instructions on there on how to submit your vehicle.
Right.
Okay. So get on there, send him your vehicle, your favorite Bible verse, or your favorite song, and he'll throw it up. Doesn't have to be a Chevy, right?
It can be anything you want. I posted, motorcycles. I'll even post Fords every now and then.
Yeah, I've seen a few.
No, I like, and really, I've had a lot of the younger crew, ask me, like, hey man, I got an 03 Silverado. I got a 2017 GMC. I got one of these new F-150s. It's like, man, if it's a hot rod to you and you're passionate about it, let's share it and get the word out,
Yeah.
because there's a pretty good chance you're not the only one that thinks that's cool.
Yeah, no,
and,
exactly.
and that broadened my spectrum of vehicles, because I'm a Chevy guy.
Yeah.
Both my grandparents retired from General Motors in Atlanta, and they said, General Motors put food on our table our entire lives. They're
Yeah.
like, that's what we're going to drive, and that drove a passion in that direction. But man, it's not always about the name brand. But it is always about God.
It's about God, and it's about this community,
Right.
and us being able to share God to this community.
Right.
The car community. There's a groups of people that are very close,
Right.
and when you get into the community, you realize there's always somebody that's going to help you out.
Right.
You do have a few of these guys who don't want to help, but for the vast majority of the car community, there's always people to help you out.
Exactly.
And we could get into so much stuff, but we're going to cut this one a little bit short. But I am going to ask you right here, are you good with us doing a full pod with you?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So you heard it from Evan. We're going to do from Trevor. See, I told you I get confused.
It's not
You heard
just
it
you.
from Trevor. We're going to have him later on the podcast, so be looking out for that, guys. And look, I got to tell you one other thing about your truck. I love the dog dish and the Steelies. That is my style. He'll tell you that's my style. That's what my F100's got, and we love that style truck. Patina, dog dish, and Steelies.
Yes,
So, Trevor, it's great for you to be on with us. We appreciate it. And guys, we'll be having some more interviews, so keep listening. All right, guys, we're still here out at LS Fest, and we have got an interesting car here with us. And we're talking with George Landis, and he has a old school Ford Taurus NASCAR here. That is LS swap, but it looks a little different. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I wanted to not upset the Ford people, so I wanted the motor to look like a Ford because they hate when it's LS swap everything.
Hey, I'm with them, buddy. I am a
So,
Ford guy.
so it's a 6-liter with LS3 heads, and I just I took an MSD distributor and gutted it, and the plug wires go through it, and then down on the side of the block, I got the coils on the side of the block. It's got a Elgin cam and stuff, GM intake. I flipped the intake to the GM badges on the back.
That's good.
And it's got a Holley Terminator Stealth, so it's a 4150 throttle body.
Okay.
Used ICT brackets, so it didn't look like GM brackets on it and stuff like that. Just making a conversation piece more than anything else.
Yeah, I know. When we first walked up to it, we're looking at it and we're like, wait a minute, is this a small block Ford or is it an LS?
Right.
Because you got the valve covers, you got the distributor up front, you got the alternator where the alternator should be on a 302. And so we were a little, like, what is this? And so I hollered at you, and you're like, no, it's an LS.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool what you've done to it because you really have made it look like a small block Ford.
Right. I even put a timing pointer on the balancer.
Yeah, I see that.
You don't need it, but it just kind of fulfills the whole thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, all the plug wires are routed for HO firing order.
Yeah.
And I got confused putting the car together because I had the wires all the way to the coils with HO firing order. And then
okay.
and I'm trying to wire it to a LS. I'm like, wait a minute, the firing order's wrong.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it worked out real good, and got a lot of people's attention for sure.
Yeah. So the car looks like a 97 to 99-ish Taurus.
Right.
NASCAR. So tell us a little bit about the car.
So in '98, the car had this body put on. That was the first year Ford Taurus in NASCAR. So they probably put it on to get some Ford sponsorship.
Yeah.
But that was Jeff Bodine on the team at that time. But the number 7 before that was Alan Kwiecki.
Okay.
And he won a championship in '92. He's the one that invented the Polish victory lap and all that stuff. Well, he died in '93 in a plane crash.
Yeah.
So for '93, all of his stuff sat in a warehouse or whatever, and Bodine bought the assets.
Okay.
And then they ran the car. So the car doesn't have a serial number on the roll cage. So that means it's pre-'95.
Okay.
Because NASCAR mandated around '95, '96 that they had to have a way of knowing which car it was.
Yeah.
And the front clip, the car is a Laughlin chassis, and Laughlin stamps their front clips, and the number, the part number on the front clip is so old that they don't even know, they can't even tell me what that was.
Yeah, wow.
So I'm thinking 91, 92. I've got 3 wheels that are stamped 193 AK7,
Okay.
which was for Quickie.
Yep.
That way they stamped their wheels and stuff, so when they took them to the Goodyear trailer, they could find them.
Okay.
When they picked them
Yeah.
up, 'cause they didn't mount the tires. They just took the rims
Yeah,
to the
and
trailer.
Goodyear did that.
They'd mount up 30, 40 tires, and they'd roll them back to the pits
Yeah.
and, during a race. And the radiator actually says Quickie 92 on the bottom of it.
Okay.
So it definitely has some Alan Quickie heritage.
Yes.
But I can't.
Which is really cool.
Right. I just can't say that the car was one of his cars. Now, I am finding in different places as I was putting the car back together, there's like the rear end spanners on the axle and stuff, and some plates and stuff are all marked 008.
Okay.
So I talked to a couple guys, and they're like, well, probably that meant it was car 8 in the corral.
Yeah.
And, but I haven't found anybody that worked on the Quickie team in the 90s or in the Bodine team in the early 90s to verify what it was done, The body was put on by leading edge race cars. I've talked to the guys, I've met the guys that put the body on the car.
Okay.
Social media is so good,
Yeah, yes, it is.
you start slamming pictures out there and stuff, and people contact me and go, hey, can you take a picture of the front bumper from inside? I take a picture. He goes, yep, I made that. That's the way I make mine.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So that worked out real good.
Yeah.
And even chasing parts, I've met a guy that sold me the sway bar, and he's an old Craftsman truck crew chief. Actually won at Watkins Glen so I told him I was building a road racing, and so he's like, yeah, give me your weights and stuff, and I'll help you with setup and stuff. So it's a pretty cool community. It's like a lot of the guys that aren't in it anymore are kind of like, reminiscing and kind of wanting to bring the historic part of it back because it's changed so much. I myself quit watching.
I'm with you. I quit watching too. I was a '90s fan.
Yep, me too.
And when the point style changed, that's when I stopped watching.
Exactly.
That just was. I didn't like the new style. And now the new cars, I mean, they all run the same exact motor. They're all identical. I mean, yes, it's all about the driver, but when I was growing up, it was also about the car name on the front of it. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, and I mean, back in the 80s, we had Buick and Oldsmobile. That's right. I mean, it was about the name, the make on the car as much as it was
and the craftsmanship these guys put into these cars.
Oh, yeah.
The chassis and stuff.
Yes.
It's just incredible the work that they did, and now it's all factory done.
Yeah.
So it's like all these sheet metal guys and stuff, I mean, they're all either retired or doing other things now. They're not even in the race car business anymore because it's all changed.
I can see for the team, it might be a little, cost savings. They don't have as many employees, but that to me just takes the art and the craft out of the sport.
Yep. Now the team is just guys that work on the car putting nuts and bolts in it. It's not craftsmen.
No, not at all. Now, one thing that I noticed that I didn't know is the suspension is not a rack and pinion, okay?
Right.
And I thought that was strange. I would have thought they would have had rack and pinion in them. So tell us about the suspension system on it.
So as NASCAR was going through their stages, all the old cars in the 80s, especially in the 70s, were basically Ford Fairlane suspension. They just retrofitted those into a roll cage and made it so they were all rear steer. Yep. And then Laughlin ran Chevelles, and as he was moving up into the higher ranks, the professional ranks, he just thought it was easier to pull the right front tire than push the right front tire with the steering. So he started using the Chevelle front suspension to make the front steer cars. And when these cars started coming out, they dominated because the way the geometry of the front end was so much better. So it's got a 12-to-1 gearbox in it. It's got all regular A-arms and tie rods and stuff, just like a late 60s, early 70s Chevelle. In fact, they got all kinds of steel welded to it, which when I looked at it, I was like, that kind of looks Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
But when I was talking, the guys go like, no, we didn't have good drag length, so we just welded steel to it to stiffen it up. So, again, it was just the way those guys did. We got to fix something, so we're just going to do things to make it work. We're not going to get crazy with it.
No.
Not going to go buy it.
I noticed you put power steering on it.
Right.
But the brakes are not power brakes, right?
No, they're manual brakes, which manual brakes, if you size the master cylinder, it feels the same. Yeah. It's just more effort.
Yes.
But for racing, you have more of a feel what's going on. The power steering, I put it on because the box was power steering, so I figured why not hook it back up. and right now I'm autocrossing the car, which that's a lot of turning.
Yes.
So that helps out a lot.
Yep.
And eventually the car is going to become a historical road racing HSR road course car. So
Okay, cool.
Because they're actually getting a deal together. They're running Watkins Glen next weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The weekend, the same week as the Cup cars. They're going to do like a show race before the actual race goes on.
Yeah,
So it's like
that's
that might
pretty
be
awesome.
pretty good to get
Yeah.
into.
That would be cool to get into. So you've got a YouTube channel.
Yes, it's Landis Performance. I show builds that I'm doing. And every Tuesday night I do a live show at 7, and I do like a tech segment. Come up with brakes or whatever.
Yeah.
I try to come up with something different, and it's the whole course of it, or the whole thing I'm trying to achieve is like bench racing. I want people to get on the chat, and if they say they see something that they know, or they know something different, hey, bring it on. Let's talk about it. I don't want to just sit there and talk for an hour and say, listen to me talk. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spread what knowledge I have. I've been in this industry for 40 years, so I want to spread what I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys get into that, especially guys that are building their own cars at home, Yep. So if I can show them like how to wire the car properly, how to crimp wires, and what kind of tools to use and stuff, they get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And I've had real good success with that. It's a small channel, small everything, but
that's awesome, because we don't have a lot of knowledge, but we are into the backyard garage, home build,
right?
Cheap, on the cheap, doing the budget type stuff, and that's what I find the most interesting, because that really speaks to the majority, I think, of our industry and the majority of the community that's out here. So having somebody out there doing what you're doing, that's pretty cool. We'll have to go check it out ourselves.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So find him on YouTube. What about Instagram? You on
Instagram, Landis Performance.
Okay.
I think it's Landis Performance Center.
Okay.
And Facebook too, Landis Performance.
Okay.
And then I'm on George Landis. I've got, I think my personal Instagram is SRC Racing. That's my old race car team.
Okay.
And on the Facebook it's George Landis.
Okay.
But I put videos up from this weekend on there, so it'll probably pop up.
All right.
Pretty quick.
All right, guys, go check him out on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, George Landis Racing. And this was really cool. We appreciate you spending some time with us.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we are back out here at LS Fest, and right now we have got Mark and Jamie with us from Built Shoulda Bought, and they're going to tell us about the Chevy trucks that they have here that they've been working on. And we're going to start out with Mark, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his truck.
So, I don't even know where to start. This thing, it started life off as an HVAC truck. Had this weird V6 heavy-duty suspension combo.
4.3?
Huh?
4.3?
It was
Nice.
like the original Vortec.
Yeah.
And garbage.
Yeah.
Absolute garbage.
Oh, I love those motors.
But when I got it, my dream was always it's a long bed. My dream was always to make it a road course truck, and especially because it's a long bed, because nobody likes the fact that I'm road coursing a long bed.
I love long beds, too.
Right.
So my truck is.
It's gone through a whole bunch of iterations. Right now, it's got a 6-liter LS. 4L80, built 4L80E, QA1 suspension all the way around.
Okay.
We are big proponents of QA1. And the Holley Terminator Max. So, yeah, so interesting thing about the paint. Years ago, when I was trying to get rid of the V6, right, there was a guy who had a shop, and I also had a dually at the time. He wanted my dually. I said, drop a 350 in it, paint it flat black, and we'll call it even. You can have it. So he had it for 8 months, calls me, says, come get it. I show up, I'm looking around the parking lot, I can't find my truck. I can't find it. And then my dad, who was with me, goes, I think that's your truck over there, because you recognize the license plate on the front.
Yeah.
The dude had rhino lined my entire truck.
Oh, my goodness.
It looked like this gigantic grape.
Hey, some guys like that, though.
Okay. Some guys like Fords too.
Oh man, what a shot!
I'm sorry. Anyway, so for 3 years we were peeling Rhino Guard off of it. So that is what has given the unique patina look to it.
Okay,
So,
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Hey, I only said that about the Rhino line because I know some dudes that have Rhino line their off-road trucks.
Right, and they look great. And they work.
it's not my thing,
Right.
but some of them do look pretty decent.
Sure.
You know? But no, this truck would not look good
Sure.
right online.
You know, and this truck has been special. I got it at a very low point in my life when it was really the only thing I could afford. And for a very brief time, it was like my rolling home for a bit.
Oh, wow.
And so the truck has kind of morphed as I've gotten back on my feet. And, you know, I've been able to do things with it. So it's kind of, there's a weird kind of testimony in this truck. That we could talk about forever. But yeah, the truck just keeps getting better. And interestingly enough, this thing was born because of this. We like to run SCCA autocross.
Okay.
And I talked Jamie into going one weekend, and I handed her a helmet and I said, "Hey, you're up." And she went out and, you know, I'm not going to speak for you, but she fell in love with it.
Oh, I guarantee it.
And it was like a week later after church, we were eating Mexican, and Jamie goes, can I get into this? I'm like, yeah. And she said, well, and I said, you know, what do you want? Because you're not driving my truck. And she said she had to have a truck, and I was thinking like a second gen Camaro or something. And we're buddies with the guys at Treadwear.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar, good, solid Christian dudes that their specialty. Well, they do the stick-on lettering.
Okay.
Okay. But their specialty is body swaps.
Okay.
And so I called Michael from Treadwear and I said, "Hey, we're getting ready to build Jamie a truck. What do you think?" He goes, "A C5 and a Blazer. There's 2 inches difference in the help me out here.
The wheelbase.
Wheelbase, thanks."
Wow.
And I'm like,
I would have
okay,
never thought that.
we can make this work.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, our buddy Tim Davis, I found a C5 wrecked in Dallas, Georgia, and Tim's from Noonan, so Tim ran and bought it for us. And I'm going to let you talk. I'm sorry.
Jamie, tell us all about this thing, because for one, the first thing when I'm looking at it, I'm like, did you drive this down here like this?
I did.
That low to the ground?
Yes.
How did it ride?
Pretty rough. We got some adjustments to do. He saw sparks once.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's got
Sparks
the
are cool, though.
Yeah.
it's got the QA1 Mod Series shocks on it all the way around,
Okay.
and I don't have them dialed in yet, so that's on me.
So basically the story for this is, we had that Corvette. We took it to Georgia, tore it apart, and people were mad at us. Took all the fiberglass off of it, and then I bought the Blazer for $500 in a field, and we dropped it on top. And we've done a lot of work to marry them together.
Well, C5s are a dime a dozen, so if anybody's getting mad about that, they can just get over it. So you said...
Kind of the way we feel.
Yeah, it took a lot of work to get it together. So how many hours do you think y'all got into this?
We've got a solid year.
Yeah,
Okay.
a whole year.
And we would probably work on it at least 2 evenings a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of weekends, it was all weekend.
Yeah.
So,
And the last year, I've learned how to weld. I've done some fiberglassing. What else have I done? Bondo. Yes.
wiring.
Yeah.
Well, fiberglassing is your old buddy Tim's favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what Tim won't tell you is he got the idea initially from us. Because, so on this, the Corvette is quite a bit more narrow than a Blazer. And so we had a gap between the two we had to fill about like that.
Okay.
And we did the old boombox fleece trick. And that's where you take, you go to Walmart and you spend $5 and you buy a fleece throw blanket. Stretch it out, soak it with resin.
Okay.
It tightens right up, and then you can fiberglass over the top of it.
All right.
So, there's some old school tech in here, and
no, it's really cool. And when I saw it on Instagram, and that you all were headed down here with it, I was like, we got to find them, and we got to see this Blazer. I'm a Blazer fan anyway. I love
me
the
too.
square body Blazers, but to see it on a Corvette chassis, and then to even look inside and see the Corvette dash, and the seats in there, I'm like, this is nuts.
Well, and what's great, you'll be at a car show, and we've only been to a couple because as you look at it, you can tell we're not even remotely close to being done with it. But guys will walk up and they're like, "Hey, what do you got under the hood?" And we're like, "Well, it's got a full C5 chassis." And they're like, "Oh, okay. So you're running Corvettes?" No, it's the full chassis, and they don't get it.
They don't get it,
right? And then they even look in, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Wait a minute, that's a Corvette dash. Those are Corvette seats. So yeah,
They start putting it together.
sometimes they still walk away scratching their head. So, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Soon I might have a back seat too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have a Wrangler back seat that'll fit
Okay.
back there.
So, have you ran it today?
Yes, I did the road course.
Okay. Was it fun?
Yeah, it was fun.
All right. So, did you get it sideways any?
Nope,
No, you just took your
That's
time.
tomorrow, right?
that's tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Getting sideways is the fun part. And look, I've only done autocross in my Mustang a couple of times. And when I got done doing it, I told them, buddy, I'm all in. It hasn't happened yet, but maybe one day that's where that car ends up.
you do it once and you're like, okay, when's the next one?
Yeah, it's awesome.
awesome.
It's fun. So we really appreciate you guys
Absolutely.
talking with us and showing us your trucks. It's been great. And hopefully we'll get you on the podcast
Perfect.
Thank you.
soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys.
All right, guys. So those were some pretty cool interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, what'd you think, Zach? I mean,
as a Ford guy, it was a little rough being there. You know, I was just a lot of too much Chevy stuff for me. But
well, LS Fest as a whole. Let's just talk about that for a minute, okay?
Okay.
Before we get into the interviews, LS Fest as a whole for me, I enjoy all the different cars, okay? But when I start walking around there, the first thing I am doing is looking for the cars that stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is tons of Camaros, tons of Corvettes.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like Ford Fest. You know, there's tons of Mustangs.
You have all of your 2015 and up Mustangs.
Yes.
And then once you get past those, I feel like you start seeing some more of the oddball stuff.
Yeah, oddball stuff. But at LS Fest, there's so much of that. CTSBs.
Yeah.
And
Stuff that came with LS's stock.
there's so many modern cars. And I'm out looking for, which you all won't see on this podcast, the Chevette with the LS in it.
Yeah.
There was,
Well, you're also an old head hot rodder, so that's part of the reason.
But then I'm also looking for the Volvo. With the LS.
The Mercedes, we've got some pictures of this stuff that maybe we'll throw a little montage together or something.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of pictures and videos of some really cool stuff. There was a Mercedes there with like a high-rise Holley intake and a big blower on top. It was
just some
pretty
cool stuff like that. I'm looking for the oddball stuff.
Yeah.
And even Sally's Garage, Jacob and Tim Davis brought Tim's 57 Chevy. You don't see 57 Chevys with an LS swap.
Well, and also
there wasn't very many there.
Also, the way they did theirs isn't very. You don't see that very often. Most of the time, people with 57 Chevys or really any of the Tri-5 cars is all. Most of the time, people kind of restore them.
Yes,
and this car is a little rough around the edges, but
patina.
it's honestly rough in the perfect way. In my opinion.
It really is. It really is.
And the stance that's on it just looks so good. As well.
And so not even that. There was several Toyota trucks there.
Oh yeah,
LS is in on.
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was this. There was a 4Runner, like a third-gen 4Runner, which y'all know I had the Xterra, but I was really looking for a Toyota. They were just too expensive for me. So seeing this third-gen, which is what I was looking for, it was pretty cool. It looked to be a turbo LS. He didn't have his hood popped, but it almost looked like a turbo LS. I saw a little turbo peeking out. But, I mean, it looked like it was maybe on 37s.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome.
It was sharp.
It was
really
cool.
sharp.
It was a very clean truck, but...
So that's the kind of the stuff that I was out
Yeah.
looking for just as soon as I got there because I saw so much of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing, and this is a negative, okay? Now, to me, the positive is there is such...
There's a wide variety.
Variety of different cars with LSs. That's really cool. That you can just about put an LS in anything.
You can,
and that's cool.
I've seen there was an LS in a Civic there.
Yes, there was. So, but the negative to me is this is what's different as far as like Mo Party and Holley Ford Fest is at those you don't have one specific engine.
Yeah,
you can walk up to a Ford and have a 2.3 turbo. Like a Ford Courier, some of you guys know who I'm talking about, boosted Courier, you can walk up to his truck and it's a 80
like a
Ford Courier with a 2.3
horsepower.
a 2.3 turbo in it that puts out 430 something horsepower.
Yeah.
And we've watched it dyno.
Yeah.
That is awesome. You can walk up to, a new Mustang with a Coyote, which is the same as an LS swap. That gets kind of boring.
Yeah.
But then you might walk up to a Ford Fairlane with a 427 in it, and the same thing with Mo Party. It's not all Hemis, modern Hemis. It's old 318s, old 360s that have been boosted, and you get a wide variety of engines.
That's kind of my biggest thing. So when I was there, I didn't think I was going to like it. I was actually, if I'm being completely honest, kind of dreading the weekend because I really didn't think I was going to like going out there.
Yeah.
Overall, I actually had a really good time. But
yes, it was a really good time.
That was my same complaint. I mean, I saw a lot of really cool stuff. Was it a Malibu or a Cruise? I can't remember if it was a Chevy Cruze or a Chevy Malibu.
Oh no, it was a Chevy Impala.
It was an Impala.
It was the last body style
like a 2016 maybe.
Yeah.
That had a LS
that was
in it.
cool.
That was awesome. I mean,
Yes.
rear wheel drive.
Rear wheel
looks
drive
like
swap.
it did big burnouts because
Yes.
it had rubber all over the back of the fender.
It was wild to see that big old motor.
Yeah, crammed in there,
And not sideways facing, because a lot of you guys will remember not that body style, but the body style previously. They had the Monte Carlo SS and they had the Impala SS that were
the 5.3 front wheel drive.
Yes, front wheel drive, and this was rear wheel drive, and that thing was just crammed in.
And honestly looked really natural. Like, I mean, yes, it was crammed in there, but like the stance of the car looked natural.
Yeah,
it didn't look
but
like
in order for it to fit, he had to cut a hole in the hood and put a cow induction on it.
Well,
a homemade cow induction.
But back to my my experience, I thought it was good. It was cool. It was cool being there. But I'm the type of guy, like my dad. I like seeing what motors are in stuff. And when I was there, all I saw was cars, which cars are awesome, obviously, but I didn't have to really go look at what the motors were most of the time because a large majority of the motors in those cars were LS1s.
Yeah.
Or not, well, I guess it wasn't an LS1, it was a 5.3. But, or like a, I mean, sometimes you see some 6.0s and stuff, but it's all like, very basic. Like you'll get a lot of guys with C10s that just throw an LS in it. And honestly, I have the same complaint with a lot of guys that take F100s and just throw a Coyote in it. It's becoming so common, and I like things that are different, sort of. I mean, I say that, but then I own a 95 Mustang GT that everybody in the world owns. But still, I like things that are slightly different. And so seeing the same motor was kind of annoying, but then again, you would get these little oddballs like the Mercedes or... You would get.
Volvo.
I mean, there was an airplane with an LS in it.
Yeah, there was an airplane.
I mean, I don't think we got any pictures of that.
No,
I don't remember.
Oh no, we got one. Yeah,
okay, there was a lot of people around it. Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, overall the experience was awesome. But I'm someone, like I said, likes to seek out motors and see what's in something because the cooler the motor, like if it's more unique, it's really cool to me. Like if I can go up to a car like at Ford Fest and see a 429 in it. I mean, that's pretty cool. You don't see that motor very often, So, like same with Coyotes. I'm not just an LS hater here. I actually really like LSs. Like, I think it's an amazing platform. But when I go to like one of these shows, it's the same thing with Coyotes. I get tired of seeing Coyotes all the time. I get tired of seeing LSs all the time. It'd be the same thing if I went to Mo Party and only saw Hellcat motors. Yeah. That's just, it'd be the same. It's kind of annoying, Yeah. But overall, it was an awesome experience, and I would definitely go again for sure.
Now, we're not down in doing those swaps at all.
No, not at all. Like I said,
tell you right now,
awesome.
if I had the right truck and I had a Coyote, it would go in it.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's just everybody does it, and they do it because it works.
They do it because it works. They do it because it's very drivable. They do it because it's very dependable.
Yes, and I've heard a lot of good about LSs. I've actually heard a lot of guys say that literally you just take an old vehicle and you throw an LS in it and it will not break down on you unless you drive it like an idiot. But
yes, exactly.
If you take care of it and just daily it, or and actually do your oil changes, everything like that, that thing will last you forever.
Yeah.
Same with the Coyote.
So there's nothing wrong with any of that, but when you go to these shows, sometimes it gets a little boring.
It gets a little repetitive.
Yeah, seeing the same thing over and over.
It's not a bad thing whatsoever. Like I mean, I feel like I'm sounding like the Debbie Downer over here and the hater, but realistically, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just when I go to shows, I like seeing unique stuff. Yeah. So, and it's a lot of the same thing. But I mean, if it works, why stop?
Yeah. So and some of you guys, if you follow United by Trucks, you'll have seen the truck called Mud, and that is like my favorite C10 on Instagram. And that truck, the reason it's my favorite is because it is different. He didn't just do an LS swap. He decided, and I may be wrong when I'm saying this, but I'm almost certain he put a 327 in that truck.
That's cool.
And it's carbureted. I mean, it's just an old school build. And when I see that truck, I'm like, that's what I like. Yeah. I like the old school build. Now, yes, I'm going to get called an old head for that or whatever. But that's why my truck has got the 306 in it, because it is an old school build.
It's unique. It's old school. It's got the 3 on the tree because nobody keeps the 3 on the tree on there for as long as you have.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time
It's
it gets
not
swapped immediately.
fast. And, just like the 327 in mud, that truck, I'm sure, can light the tires up. I'm pretty sure I've seen video of it lighting the tires up. But, it's not going out to the track and winning any races.
No, it's not running a 10-second quarter mile. But
it sounds awesome. It looks awesome sitting down in there. And that's what I'm looking at. When I go to these shows, I want to see unique things. Because you get repetitive stuff constantly going on. But it's like that at all the shows, guys. It's not just LS Fest.
I will say, I do think it gets repetitive, but I am a sucker for anything on a drag pack. So, even though I may see the same 5.3 turbo in 100 different cars, if it has slicks on the back, I'm probably going to look at it. Just because I enjoy it. So, when we saw Trevor's truck, he didn't have slicks on it, but you saw that turbo.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing to me about LS Fest is the community.
Yeah,
so everybody was so friendly. Everybody wanted to talk to you, tell you about their cars. And not just that, but they're willing to help. I mean, we had guys talking to us about our camera, talking to us about the podcast and different things, and giving us
talking
ideas.
About your Ford truck.
Yes, but then also when you walk down the Midway, it is different than any of the other ones that we've been to because there is so much support for LS.
Oh yeah,
and it is unbelievable the amount of booths for General Motors vehicles and LSs.
I would love to see that much for Fords, really.
Yeah,
because
it's not there yet.
It's not, but it would be a game changer.
It would,
and that's why LS swaps are fairly cheap, and that's why a lot of people do them. Is because all you got to do is walk down that Midway, and you realize
there is so much support.
There is, if you have a Chevrolet and you want to put a new motor in it, there is no reason to not go LS because of how much support you have. It is insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty awesome.
But to the interviews. Yeah. I think that our interview with Trevor was pretty good. You interviewed him, so why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, Trevor is just a top-notch guy, and anybody that knows him knows he is who he says he is.
Oh, yeah. Very down to earth.
Very down to earth, and very humble, and you can see that in the interview. And Trevor has worked hard. You saw it's crazy to think he bought that truck for $800.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, no way,
To see where it's at now.
To see where it's at now is just unbelievable. God has blessed him and his family so much.
So much recognition that truck has received, too. It's crazy. It's all over the internet.
Trevor's a little younger than me, so I don't feel crazy for saying this, but I'm proud of him. He has worked hard, and he has followed the Lord and done what the Lord has called him to do. And, the Lord has blessed him and his family, and it's awesome to see. And I'm just thankful that we got some younger guys like him and, that out there, speaking the name of God, flying their American flag, being patriotic, and doing the things that he does on YouTube and on Instagram.
Well, and it seems like he helps out his local car community
a
lot too, which is awesome.
With local car shows.
Especially the young guys and stuff. It's awesome to see people trying to pass the car enthusiast gene onto other people, because it's like, when with you passed it to me, but it kind of a lot of times will stop, especially in my generation. Gen Z, it usually stops at Gen Z, and because there's so many different other things to do now. Some people won't get into cars, but it's awesome to see people putting time into the younger generation as well.
And one thing that you won't see on this video, but we got to do, and that was meet Twig. Is that right? Yeah, his name is Twig.
Yeah.
That you see on Trevor's YouTube videos. It helps him out on these builds. He's a top-notch guy too.
Yeah, he's really good to us.
And maybe at some point we'll get to talk with him too a little bit on here. But yeah, it was good to meet him too. Mm-hmm. And then the guy with the NASCAR.
So
how awesome was that?
So now if you watched it on YouTube, you'll be able to see why we were so confused. But the more he talks about it and you look and look and look, like just from the surface level, it's like, that's a small block Ford.
Yes.
But then you look at it a little bit more and you're like, that is an LS block.
Well, we had kind of pretty much figured it out before we even talked to him.
But when I first walked past it, the first thing I saw was Powered by Ford on the valve covers, and I was like, that's not an LS. And
Yeah.
then I looked at the distributor and I was like, that's also not an LS.
Yes. But then when we kind of bent over and looked down at the block, we were like, that's an LS
That's
block.
an LS block, yeah.
So I hollered at the guy, and we brought him over, and then he was kind enough to do the interview with us. And
she has a YouTube channel as well.
Yes, he does. And I think he shouts.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he shouts it out.
He shouts it out. And the cool thing about that car, though, too, is the history. Alan Kawicki, of course, passed away, and just to know that was the frame and chassis at one point was one of his cars. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeff Bodine, I remember watching Jeff Bodine, all through
It's
the
all
90s.
before my time,
Yeah.
buddy. I don't know what's going on.
So
I just thought the car was cool.
When I saw the number 7, I knew right away, well, that's a Jeff Bodine car,
Yeah.
So, but it was, that body and that chassis was Jeff Bodine after Alan Kawicki had passed away and the team got sold off. And that was pretty cool to hear all the history about that, and us to talk about NASCAR a little bit today compared to years ago and the changes. In my opinion, I don't watch NASCAR anymore, and in my opinion, unless it goes back to the old way, I never will again.
Well, I think I wish it would just go back to the old style of car. Like even when I was a kid, yes, all the cars looked identical, but they were still unique at that. Like they didn't all look identical. I mean, you can now look at a Ford NASCAR and a Toyota NASCAR, and it's essentially just the same thing.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference until
No.
you see the front of the car and the stickers.
Yeah, and it's only because of the stickers. I wouldn't be surprised if the bodies weren't
And they're
almost
no
identical.
longer manufacturer engines.
Yeah,
They've
and
all got the same engine.
That
It's
just annoys me because I remember when I was a kid, I loved NASCAR, and it like I had the little NASCAR Hot Wheels. I was a huge Hendrix Motorsports.
Yeah. Which I was
fan.
too as a
Yeah,
teenager.
I mean, I was a big
I know
Dale,
Chevy guys, but I was Hendrix.
well, big Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then as I got older, things started changing. The cars started looking the same. I was like, this is just
got boring.
really boring. And then as I got older, I discovered drag racing, drifting, autocross, rally racing, all that stuff interested me, and time attacks and stuff like that. And NASCAR was just kind of gone after that. I didn't really care too much.
So Mike Frisbie, top-notch guy.
Mark Frisbie.
Mike Frisbie.
Names, man, names.
I know. Sorry, Mark. Mark Frisbie, top-notch guy. Super excited we got to meet him. And
his
daughter Jamie.
His daughter was nice too.
And his truck, you heard in the interview, he had to even sleep in it for a few weeks, and to see where he's brought that truck from just a work truck to motocross. Good Lord, autocross.
Man,
I am struggling. It's been a long day for us, guys. We've done a lot of work today.
We have done a whole lot today.
So to autocross and running that truck like he does, the truck is really cool, the work that he's done to it. And then Jamie and her Blazer.
Yeah, so that Blazer was insane. I mean, she talks about it in the interview, obviously, but to find out that it is a K5 on a C5 Corvette chassis is insane.
It's insane.
That's crazy. And it's only like a 1 or 2 inch difference.
1 inch difference in the wheelbase.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
wild.
I would have never thought.
And how low it sits. If you watch the video on YouTube, I kind of try to get down low so you can see how low it sits.
Yeah.
But where they were sitting, like in the grass, it was touching the ground.
Yeah.
The body was touching the ground.
And to know that she drove that truck sitting at that height all the way from just south of Indianapolis, that's crazy.
That would have been awful.
It had to ride terrible.
Oh, man.
But we had some awesome interviews.
I will say, there's a lot of fabrication on Mark's truck that I thought was pretty cool. He was talking about, what was it? It was that wire he used. It almost looked like chicken wire, but it wasn't.
Yeah, gutter guard.
Yeah, and he made a custom grill with it. He pretty much essentially made a custom dash out of it too, which was really neat. Looked really good. Yeah. And I also was a big fan of his hood he built.
Yes,
the hood he built was really cool.
And the
heat extractors.
Yeah,
that was pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome.
I like seeing fabrication like that because I mean we fabricate our own stuff. I enjoy welding, so seeing other people's fabrication is it's cool to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We had some really good interviews.
Yeah, we met a lot of good people and a lot of people that I would love to talk to again and do good full length interviews with. It was very enjoyable, and I know I seem to hate on the LS a lot, but I'm just a biased Ford guy. In reality, that show was awesome.
It was.
I love the
It's
LS
well
platform. Yes, very well done. I love the LS platform. It is, as a Ford guy, I guess I can admit it. It's probably the greatest platform that's been built.
Yes,
and
it is.
to see the support that's behind it at this show, to see all these people that have these vehicles that they enjoy so very much that are LS powered is really cool to see. I mean, the community around it, like
and this
you said,
is
awesome.
is just LS East. There's LS Fest West now too.
Golly, I wonder how packed that is.
Yeah, it's crazy to think it's gotten so big they have to have multiple shows.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's one car.
There might even be an LS Fest Texas.
Is there?
Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I know there's the West one, but I don't know if there's any other ones. But one thing I did think was cool, and if y'all watched Hoonigan back in the day, I watched Hoonigan for like, I don't know, 7 years. I've kind of slowly drifted away. I mean, they took new ownership, and
now they filed bankruptcy now.
Yeah, in my opinion, things have kind of went downhill. Yeah. But back in the day when Hurt was part of Hoonigan, I just loved the dynamic he brought to their videos and stuff. But anyway, I got to see his car, the Torque Stallion, in person, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's so cool because I've been watching that car on YouTube since I was a junior in high school, I think. Because I think I watched Gymkhana for the first time when I was a junior in high school. I watched all the Gymkhana videos from Ken Block back then, and then I started watching Hoonigan's videos, and they had that Miata go-kart that they built. But, anyway, that's besides the point. It doesn't matter.
It was cool to see the car.
It was awesome to see the car, and I got to see T-Pain's S14, which was really cool. Not every day you get to say you see T-Pain and Hertz cars from Nappy Boy Automotive. That's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
It's just a kind of cool thing for me because I watched him since I was in high school.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you also saw Jack Stan.
Jack Stan Jimmy and Zach Walker were there from Cletus McFarland's channel. That was pretty cool. And then so they had the S13, and then I couldn't find it for some reason. I could not find where it was at, but a Mississippi Queen, Dr. Tunamaw's truck was there. Okay. And he was there as well. But I could not find that truck for some reason. Don't know how.
There's so many cars there.
There is so much. I wanted to see that truck really bad, though.
Walk and walk.
I wanted to see that truck really bad because they just converted it to all-wheel drive. And it's pretty cool. So.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
LS Fest, it was good. It really was.
Yeah.
But
it was a good time. A lot of good people, and definitely will go back.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll be back next year, it sounds like. So,
yeah.
So, when you talk about putting on the whole armor of God,
we had to fight a lot of evils walking through walking through all the LS powered Fords. It was so hard for me to just endure it. So I had to put on the full armor of God while I was there to keep myself from losing my mind.
Keep yourself from losing your salvation.
Yeah. No, I'm just playing.
No, we're just messing around. Honestly, thinking about some of the guys we interviewed and how they stand firm in their faith, and you see that on their Instagram, you see that on their YouTube, you saw that there, and to see them stand firm in their faith, they have the full armor of God on, and because they have to fight things just like we do, You
can tell God's using them.
Yes, you can tell God's using them. And you think about Mark. If you look at Mark Frisbie on his Instagram, he's a part of jail ministry. He's part of so many different things going on in the community. And same for Trevor. And Trevor works in his church, and he's part of the college ministry there. And it's just so awesome and to see. But we have to put on the whole armor of God. And how do we do that? We get into the Word, we pray, we fast, and we become stronger people through it. And God will come into us, His Spirit will fill us, and we'll be covered in that armor of God. So, guys, I want to encourage you to get into your Word. Get into the Word. Pray and ask God to use His Word to make you stronger. This podcast, I don't know where it's going. And we're praying that God does something great with it. Not for our benefit, but for His benefit.
Yeah, we don't care really about the views for ourselves or anything like that. We really only want views so more people can learn about God and hear these people that we talk to stories and hear our stories and just ways that God's helped us.
And we're having a bunch of fun doing it, hanging out with a bunch of car dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
So, guys, we love you all. We thank you for supporting us, and we'll see you next time.